Hi, welcome to Martech Brain, a Netcore initiative where we speak to the best brains in Martech and delve deep into one topic. My guest today is Ajay Kashyap, co-founder of Box.ai, which is now part of Netcore after its acquisition a year ago. Ajay graduated from IIT Bombay and then worked at McKinsey, Red Pill, IBM, and Crayon Data before starting Box in 2016. He also has many patents to his name. Ajay's chosen topic for our discussion today is personalization. So welcome to Martech Brain, Ajay.
Thanks, Rajesh.
So great to be chatting with you. And let's kick off the first question. So explain to us what really personalization means in the digital context. How does it work? And what is the technology behind it?
All right, Rajesh, to answer this question, let me take you to some nostalgia, right? Remember, let's go down in the memory lane 15 years back, right? And when we wanted to buy a shirt, we would go to a shop nearby, and the shop guy, the shopkeeper would essentially say, "Hi, Rajesh, how are you? Welcome to my shop." And he would give a warm welcome. Do you want some tea? Right? He would give you a warm welcome. Once you are in, he knows your taste, right? He knows what you have bought in the past. He knows that you like informal t-shirts and you're looking for, you generally are darker colors, and so on, right? He already knows that. Then when he welcomes you, he essentially uh, recollects that what is the last thing that you bought with him, or what is the last thing that you were seeing that you were not able to buy it there. Right? And then he starts talking about, Rajesh, these are the few, I know your taste. I know that you like such and such clothes. I have some new things that have come, new t-shirts that have come, that I want to show you. I also have some t-shirts that is becoming very popular these days. Let me show them to you as well. And also let me show you some things that I know that you will like. Right? And he starts showing you those t-shirts. Then he starts asking you questions, right? Rajesh, how do you like this one? And he starts gathering your feedback in real time, right? He says, Rajesh, I know you, okay, so right now you're not looking for this. Okay, I get it. Let me show you 3 more, right? And then he starts, in real time, starts showing you some of the products that you really will like. And as he keeps gathering feedback from you, he keeps taking it a notch further and keeps getting the products which are even better for you. At the end, you select a couple of t-shirts and say, this is great, and you are happy. Then he says that, Rajesh, these t-shirts are great. Why don't you buy some trousers that go along with it? Right? And he cross sells you a couple of trousers and say, these do go very well, and you'll look great in it. And he sells you a couple of trousers along with it. Then he says, Rajesh, I know that you have come after a long while. Why don't you get a gift for your wife? Right? And he gets you a gift for your wife. And then you go back and you're like so happy, right? It's perfectly satisfied. You have got exactly what you wanted. You felt so welcome, and you have become a permanent customer for him, right? Now he already knows you. You go back to him because you know that when you go to him, you just get what you want. On the other side, the shopkeeper, he also is happy, right? Because he sold you lots of things, and you came in as a visitor, and you became a customer for multiple products that you don't necessarily even want to buy in the first place, right? And it's a brilliant experience, and it was going amazingly well. Then fast forwards a few years from here, and the malls start coming up, the big shops start coming up. In his own shop, he expands it, and he now has, instead of 10 visitors a day, he now has 1,000 visitors a day, right? And now this doesn't scale up, right? And the whole personalization experience, that the whole brilliant experience that we were able to get earlier, completely breaks down. It is not able to scale up to the large number of the large shop and to the large number of customers that come in. Fast forward further few more years, big malls come in, Shoppers Stop come in, and this becomes even more, robotic. You go in, you find what you want, you go to the shop, you go to the checkout counter, and you just buy it, right? And no, this is completely unpersonalized. Come e-commerce, the number of customers are even larger and becomes even less personalized. The only thing is that it has a large number of products now. Personalization essentially is bringing that experience that you earlier had, that brilliant experience of somebody knowing you and somebody giving you an amazing experience, amazing in every touch point, right? And bringing that back to scale to the scale of the modern world, right? The modern world scale is much larger than those shops, the corner shops 15 years back, right? So bringing that same experience to the modern world, the scale of the modern world is what I call personalization, right? So now when you go to Amazon, right, or when you go to Shopper Stop, or when you go to an e-commerce or an offline, if you can get the same experience, even though there are a million customers coming in a month, that to me is what personalization is, right? And that is what I think the holy grail of personalization is, bringing that same experience in scale. Things have happened in the last few years, right? Rajesh said that the computation power has increased, right. Things have changed, and so on, right? And people have been trying to solve this problem, but this is a problem that we are really trying to solve.
So if I ask you, essentially what you're saying is, you're taking the model that the shopkeeper, the neighborhood kirana store or the shopkeeper had, and how do you solve it at a one-to-one scale for millions of people? That's really where we are trying to bring in, what we are trying to do through personalization here.
Absolutely, Adesh.
Okay, now, how do you go about doing it? What are the building blocks for personalization?
Perfect. So they brought two building blocks in personalization, right? And if you just again go back to the kirana stores, and he essentially had two building blocks. One, he was able to identify that these two t-shirts are similar, right? And these two things are similar, right? So there is a similarity building block, which is able to say that these two products are similar, right? They're similar because they're the same color, they have the same shape, they have the same texture, they have the same price or whatever, right? These two products are similar in some sense. And the other building block is that this customer has a particular taste which can be identified by what he has bought in the past, or what he has viewed in the past, or what he has liked in the past, right? So essentially, these are the two broad building blocks in any personalization or in any system which is able to provide you with what you want.
In a way, to bring this to our modern world, it's basically the product catalog.
Correct.
And the clicks.
And the clicks, absolutely. Absolutely. These are the two big building blocks of the whole personalization, right? The product catalog and similarity within the product catalog, and the clicks, the add to carts, the purchases that you do. And all the models, Rajesh, are also built on this, right? So there were probably two sets of models. And again, when we started, there were two sets of models, the content-based filtering and the collaborative-based filtering, right? Content-based filtering says that these two products are similar. Again, rewind a few years back, remember that the first version of the recommender systems, right? When you bought a red shirt, you would get hounded with red shirts in every place you go. You'll get emails about red shirts, you'll get advertisements about red shirts and everything, right? That was the era of the content-based filtering basis. I know that these two shirts are similar. Rajesh bought a red shirt, let me keep giving him that more and more. Then the next era that Amazon started, it said that, people who bought this also bought this. Right, and then you started figuring out, the brilliant examples of people who buy diapers also buy a beer bottle along with it, right? A brilliant example of people who how Amazon exploited it. People who bought this phone will buy the corresponding accessories no matter what. You just have to keep selling it to them, right? So people who did this also did this. This was a first initial version of this. And over the last 10, 15 years, right, it has exploded with the computation power exploding, with the data exploding. These two systems have become so complicated and so beautiful that you're now able to look at every single data point. What are the products he has clicked? What are the products he has added to cart? How much time did he spend on each product? Where is he coming from? What location is he coming from? Identifying the product attributes from the images, getting every single data point about every product and every user, and then combining and getting one single output for that customer, saying, I know Ajay is likely to buy this at this point of time. Right, and this brings us back to the same thing that we had. The shopkeeper now knows Ajay is likely to buy this at this point of time, right? So all these two building blocks brought together under now a very complicated model, but with these two building blocks saying these two products are similar, and people who did this also do this, or people follow the taste or have a taste which can be identified by the past interactions. These two building blocks together have become a very complicated model, but with a simple output that now I know Ajay is likely to buy this.
And the core focus of all of this, to just put it in context, is really what should the next best action be for a customer.
Absolutely.
Everything is focused on, so on what do I get Ajay or Rajesh to do next.
Absolutely. And at an individual level, what do I get Ajay to do next? What do I get Rajesh to do next? What do I get Aarti to do next? And at an individual level, what each person is supposed to do next, right?
So another way to think about this, Ajay, could be that what we see in, say, Facebook's news feed, or the feed that they show us, there's almost like a feed for every individual that the personalization engine is creating.
Right.
And depending on the action that you take, that feed gets sort of updated in real time to show you what's at the top of the stack. Maybe if it's nighttime, you may be in for something different versus if you're shopping in the morning.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Rajesh. And this is exactly what I'm saying. So once you know what the customer is likely to do next, the possibilities are infinite, right? And you see it in Facebook's feed. You see it in Amazon's listing page. You see it in Flipkart's list of shirts that you want to buy, and they change for every person, right? And you see it for news, right? A news collaboration, and says, I know what is the news that you're likely to click. You see it in Twitter. You see it on a day-to-day basis in every place that you go to. Once you know what the customer is likely to buy, then the next thing is, how do you want to show that the most relevant and personalized products, content, things, etc., to this customer or to this person in real time, right? And the whole technology, Rajesh, has been built in the last few years towards that. Once the whole technology is broadly divided into two parts, right? Once how do you identify what is the most relevant and personalized next best thing for a particular user? And once I know this, how do I show the most relevant and personalized to every user, right? And we have done a few things ourselves over here. So what we have done is we have divided this into, again, an API which says, tell me a customer ID and I'll tell you the products that she's likely to buy next, right? And in a very clear answer, customer ID, and in 300 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds, I'll tell you the product she's likely to buy. Right? Customer ID, product which is likely to buy. And then implemented it in different phases, right? So we have implemented it on the website, on the apps, on different on emails, on app notifications. We're doing it on search. We're doing it on advertisements, and every single place the customer goes within the website, outside the website, within the app, to bring him back. We are bringing that over here. So in my architecture, the whole thing is essentially two parts: identify what the customer is likely to buy or what the customer is likely to do next, and then show it in every single touch point that you can, the most relevant and personalized things, products, items for that user, and do it instantaneously. It has to be absolutely seamless, and that actually is one of the bigger challenges within this industry.
And in a way, if you think about it, this idea of personalization has been there from the early days of the internet. At that time, the ads would get personalized, what, say, Google showed in the early days. And then even through the search terms that one used to type. Okay, that's how, and then it starts learning about you. So search engines start learning about you, or the website start learning about you. And then, so you are feeding them the data with your actions, what you're clicking on, what you're not clicking on. The technology has gotten better and better at the back end. Correct. To now do what is now being called basically as omni-channel personalization, what you described. So it's personalization at scale, but across every touch point, every channel that a customer is interacting with.
Correct. Absolutely, Rajesh. And you're right. It started taking baby steps right from the starting of the internet, right? The early innovators knew that this is the way to go forward. And but at that point of time, that the computing capability, the data storage capability was too expensive and very limited. So as that became more and more available, and as the data became more and more available, and the storage become more and more cheaper, this technology has become more and more relevant and sophisticated and advanced. But you're absolutely right. That this started very early, and then this has progressed, as you said, to omni-channel, where once you're able to identify in real time with large amounts of data and with large amount of accuracy, what the next best action is. Then you get into, now how do you want to show it to multiple, to the same user across every place she goes in, right? And then it becomes almost omnipresent, right? That wherever the customer goes in, she's just getting the perfect products for her. She's just getting the perfect actions for her. And life can be amazing that way, Rajesh.
And this doesn't stop at e-commerce. It can apply to content, what you see on, say, Netflix or the OTT channels. What is the next ad that you want to see? Or rather, what is the next content that you want to see? Was there on TikTok? What's the next video? That was one of the big secrets for TikTok success. Correct. And that they were able to personalize based on your watching habits.
Absolutely, and it has grown into many more areas. So it started with e-commerce because that was the place where people made money, right? And then it went to content, then it went to videos, then it went to audio. Spotify has a brilliant recommendation system. It says it's able to almost instantly identify what's the next song that you would like to have. Tinder and the matching, the dating sites have caught on, and they're able to now identify what is the best match for you. And the marriage sites have now caught on. Like, I'm able to identify the long term, what's the best marriage prospect for you, right? What are the prospects that you will like, but you may not get married to, and started moving towards the prospect that you will really get married to, rather than you'll just hit a like button. So it is becoming.
So Ajay, what's interesting also now is that earlier a lot of these engines used to be rule based. And now there's a shift towards machine learning. So talk a little about that.
Right. So broadly, if you think about it, Rajesh, what we're essentially saying is that we have brought in we have some intelligence about the user, and we want to pass that intelligence to the system so that the system can show that to the user. And it started early on, and the marketer always has a lot of intelligence about the user. The marketer always knows that people who did this typically do this after that, or people who are looking for, let's say, are looking for skirts. It is great to show them a skirts banner rather than a t-shirts banner, right? And this has been the rule-based engine that typically has existed for a while now, and has been very successful. But however, over a period of time, people also started realizing that the amount of data that a marketer can look and can work with is limited, and the number of customers, the number of types of customers the marketer can work with is also limited. So the marketer can probably create 10 segments, 15 segments, maybe 50 segments, right? But the marketer is not able to create further than that because it just becomes too difficult, too monotonous, and too micro segmenting for that possibility. And to solve this, the algo-based system started coming in. They said, you are doing a great job identifying the segments, but can I help you in saying, instead of creating segments of 1,000 users, can I create a segment of 1? So that each individual now starts getting the products that he and she absolutely is likely to buy, rather than being clubbed into a group of segment, which is also great, right? It is not that, that's also great progress over not doing anything. But to me, it is almost a journey, right? That I show everybody the same thing. Then I create a segment of users and say, segment 1 gets these things, segment 2 gets these things, segment 3 gets these things. And then I create a million segments, and then each individual gets these things. And this is the progression towards, rule-based personalization to pure algo-based personalization. And to be fair, the two work brilliantly in conjunction with each other. The algo-based works brilliantly when you have a lot of data. The rule-based works brilliantly when you have a lot of intelligence, but not necessarily a lot of data. And in combination, the two are as a killer combination for the marketer.
So one changing tracks a little bit. What are the challenges that you had to overcome in the world of personalization, building out personalization systems?
Important about broadly two challenges, Rajesh. Two big challenges, and everything revolved around that. The first big challenges was that the amount of data and that you are processing in real time is huge. You are getting so for a typical user, you have in the range of about 500 data points that you use to identify what's the next best action for her, right? And you're doing it for a million users at the same time. So doing all of this at scale brings the latency, brings the time to serve that recommendation, to serve the product to a few seconds. And this has been a problem for a while now. Bringing that time down to a few hundred milliseconds or 100 or 200 milliseconds has been one of the biggest challenges and the most satisfying solution that we have been able to generate. Right? It was we started our recommendations with the 3-second latency, and now we are able to bring that down to about 100 milliseconds latency. Right? This has been one of the most challenging tasks and also the most satisfying answer and solution to me. The other big solution is that it's a very tech-heavy solution, right? You're talking about identifying, taking a lot of data, processing a lot of data, creating a huge tech on it, and providing that to the business. It's a very tech-heavy solution. And if you want to, and that our vision was to take it to hundreds and thousands of customers, and that essentially required that every business has to implement this tech-heavy solution, which was a big challenge. So we went on, we spent about a year just to solve this, and we spent a lot of, a lot of our R&D went into how do we make this large tech solution into an easy business solution. And again, the second biggest challenge I think we were able to overcome was exactly this, that that we were able to make this whole solution into a 5-minute integration for the business, which essentially brought this to a lot more customers who did not have a large tech team, customers who had a great tech team but they were busy in other projects, customers for whom this was not an immediate priority that they had to stop everything else and had to get into this. We were able to start reaching out to those customers because it became a business solution rather than a very, very tech heavy solution. I think these are the two biggest challenges that I'm proud to have solved in some sense, Rajesh.
Great, Ajay. So one question from the business standpoint, how does a business owner know that personalization is working? So great technology, easy integration. Now, how do I as a marketer know, there are probably 5 different engines out there all saying we can do personalization, etc. How do you decide?
Right. So let's go back to the analogy of the shopkeeper, right? How do you know that he has that it has worked for him? People buy more, right? And it is, to me, it's as simple as a solution to that divide your customers into 2 parts. 50% of customers do what you were doing earlier. 50% of customers, whatever new solution you have brought in, and if you have been able to increase your total engagement as a leading metric and total sales as a final metric, it works. And if you have not been able to do that, then it doesn't work. So to me, the leading metric is, are you able to engage the customer more? Are you able to increase the CTRs further in a like-to-like environment? And if you've been able to, typically I've seen that if you're able to increase the CTRs, the click-through rates by around 35, 40 to about 70%, it seems to get or it typically gets about 8, 12, 13% net increased revenues. So to me, a leading indicator is, which is a very quick test, that you have implemented this, have your click-through rates, is your engagement increased by around 35, 40, 50%? If yes, then go for the next one, that with all of this, have your conversions increased? And to me, these are the 2 holy metrics for it to work.
And one of the pushbacks, which probably also you may be getting, is that the privacy issue is always there. That are you sort of snooping too much on people, and are we sort of violating the privacy of individuals and doing personalization? So what's your take on that?
Absolutely, Rajesh. This is a burning question, difficult one. It is you are invading on the privacy. There is no doubt about it. But you are invading on the privacy to solve the customer and to give a customer a better experience, right? So and since you're doing that, you have to create a balance, and that balance, I think, is a paramount over here. Nobody really minds the privacy being affected if you're able to get something, but people start minding the private gets affected a little too much, right? So that balance is the paramount. One of the ways that I've been able to try to solve this balance or to maintain this balance is by saying that, I will only use personalization for the current context. And in this current context, I'm able to, I'll personalize it, and otherwise, this data is not touched for you. So for example, if a person is right now on an e-commerce site, and right now she's on an e-commerce site, she's right now looking for something, and then I'm using personalization to solve a problem for her, to show the most relevant and personalized products. But when she's out, right, when she's off, and she's in a way, we try not to use that. And another thing that we've used is that, to do the same thing, not mix data, which makes the algo much more powerful, but again, which kind of breaches the contextual privacy of the customer, right? The customer has gone to site A, and now she has gone to site B. If I'm using site A's data, it is not necessarily, it's almost on the brink of breaching the customer's privacy. So I think by contextual solution to the customer, and only using that contextual data, we have been able to, we have tried to keep a balance within for this privacy. It's a difficult balance between maintaining the customer's privacy and giving up better results.
Well, I think when we all see the results in action, when you see that book that you didn't know you would want to read, but it's a great book recommendation, or the song, right, or the next movie that you want to watch, and that's your aha moment, and that's where personalization comes out a winner.
Absolutely, and hopefully more and more people, or all the people, start thinking that way, and I believe they would.
Great. Looking forward, what are the trend? Excuse me. What are the key trends that you see going forward in the world of personalization?
Rajesh, the omni-channel personalization is actually the way people are moving forward, and the key trending areas. And again, it started, as you said, with basic personalization on site, and it has gone into personalizing the emails, personalizing the notification, personalizing search, personalizing ads. And it's becoming the channels that we're able to personalize has becoming even the bigger and bigger. So to me, the next big channel that will become personalized will be the offline stores, and I think that will be the next big jump for the personalization. And in offline stores, when you go to a changing room, can you just scan the products that you have taken in, and then inside, can you have a screen which says, these are the other products that you are likely to buy, and you just click them and somebody gets it to you. Can you have a personal assistant in the shop in which you enter your phone number and says, these are the 5 best products for you, and this is there in aisle 1A, aisle 3B, and aisle 8C. All right. Or when you're checking out, it says, ma'am, I know that this is a product that you really, really would like to buy, and just try it on for me. Right. So I think the bringing the whole, extending the whole personalization to omni channels, which includes emails, notifications, etc., is the current trend, and the future for this will become, bringing it back to the retailing, to the offline industry.
Great. I think that was a fascinating tour into the world of personalization, its history, how it's working for us now, and what to expect in the future. And now we come to the last bit of our show, what we call the 5 ones. So quick, short answers. One future trend, one future tech or trend that excites you, Ajay.
I think there's a new set of models that is coming in, Rajesh, called Generative Adversarial Networks, GANs, in which algos compete with each other to create something new. And algos have now started creating new paintings, new text, new books, new movies, new trailers. I think bringing the biggest problem with tech was creativity, and the GANs is now bringing creativity into the tech, into the algos. I'm really, really excited about it.
Great. And one trend or tech that has disappointed you?
People have spent a lot of energy and time on and progressed a lot on computer vision and able to identify what each image means, but it has not found its business goal yet. We're still in figuring out, is there a cat in this image? But identifying the best, how to use it in business. People have not been able to make use of that beautiful technology well right now, and that has been a slightly disappointing to me.
Okay, and one good book recommendation.
There's this book, if you want to get into personalization, one of these amazing books is called Recommender System, an Introduction to Recommender Systems. This is an amazing book to get started into the space of personalization. Anybody who is interested in this, either from a tech or business perspective, recommend this.
Great. And one good person podcast to follow?
Tomas Tunguz. Anybody in the SaaS business, Tomas Tunguz is the god.
Great. And one key driving belief in your life?
Karma is a bitch. It follows you positive and negatively.
Great. That was wonderful, Ajay. Thank you very much. And a great session on personalization. I think a wonderful tutorial for everyone. So thank you for joining us. Martech Brain is a Netcore initiative, and we'll be back with a new episode next week. Thanks a lot.